Meg, welcome to the podcast.
For the second time.
What a nightmare. Right, welcome to the podcast. So the first question I had for you, as you're well aware, because I've already asked it, was about your journey before bodybuilding, because obviously everyone will know you as a bodybuilder, most likely. And I wanted to touch on your background before bodybuilding, which, as far as I'm aware, you were an Olympic level diver. Yep. So could you sort of go into that for me, expand on it, explain a little bit about your journey through that again?
I'll try
and
to
make it seem really, really genuine and not rehearsed.
I actually can't remember what I said 10 minutes ago. I remember what I said 2 years ago, but I don't remember what it was in the last 10 minutes, which is not good, really. Right. Diving, yes. That wasn't my first sport. So I started in my sporting environment as a dancer. Can you call that sport?
Yeah.
Okay. It had to be there most days, and
it has the same application to it to be as successful as you want to be, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I was actually pretty decent. I progressed onto, there's two different routes you can go with dancing. So more like a festival, just dancing in group styles of dancing, or more, could you call it like an academic route where you focus on levels and different areas of expertise. So there's like jazz, ballet, tap, modern.
Right, okay.
I decided to go down that route because that's more, I prefer progress rather than just doing fun. Yeah. I like progress. So I decided to go down that route.
Oh, was it? So it's more like one show and another is technical ability.
Yeah. So you know Nathan Styles.
Yes.
I actually have known his Mrs. Phoebe for a very long time. She did more festival show style as well as a little bit of that. So that's kind of the two different ones. Phoebe's obviously probably more fun than what I am. So it comes out in the personalities. But dancing had to come to an end because it was becoming abundantly clear that I was a very petite woman in stature. When you progress into, when you're a child, it's fine, obviously. But then when you go into adolescence and adult years, you do have to take up space on a stage.
Similar to bodybuilding.
Yep. Which requires for you to have a little bit more height than likely I was going to have, especially looking at my mum and dad. Like, my mum's like 5'3" and my dad's 5'4".
Yeah, okay.
Hobbits.
So you never.
So it wasn't really going to work very well for me. And I'm always of the opinion, if I can't do something well or progress in it, sorry, I could have done it well, but I could have not progressed in it. There's just no point in me wasting my time in doing it because I could find something that is my calling that I could do very well with. I was gymnastics at the side of it because one of the criterias within a certain dance was to be able to do certain levels of gymnastics. So I was doing that alongside it to progress that part of it.
They accompanied each other.
Yes. And my brother at the time had watched some television, the Olympics in 2000, I think it was the Athens 2000 Olympic Games. Yep. And he decided that he wanted to try diving. So he went to the Barnsley Metro to try diving. And I watched him and I was like, oh, I'll give it a little go.
Why not?
Yep. Went and did a flip and fun session. The guy who coached him just said, I think in a roundabout way, knowing what he's like he's the reason that I am like I am today because he is so cold.
What do you mean how you are?
I think I'm very militant.
Right, okay. Very.
Essentially, it's why I can hack Kuba and how he was with me as an athlete.
Okay.
Because
it's like drill sergeant. It's well, no, I'm assuming that is what it is. It's like you have tasks and you get given tasks and there's no, you don't deviate away from that. You don't have anything. You kind of like separate the emotion from the action, right? Yeah,
100%. Right. So he was exactly the same as that in a roundabout way, in the nicest way possible, but probably not very nice. He basically told me I was going to be a shit gymnast, but I could be a decent diver. So I went to this grassroots session the week later. I got signed as part of grassroots. So initially, as soon as I started diving, I started getting funded. So I was a funded diving athlete as soon as I started. I mean, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was a lot to cover, enough to cover like membership fees.
Like a scholarship.
A scholarship. Yeah. So that's what I got given, a UK lottery funded athlete. Essentially, that I was that all the way through my competitive diving career, which is why I didn't have to go to university. I didn't need to try and get a job because I was getting paid for it. Yeah. But it wouldn't be enough for like to save and to progress for your life afterwards. And my mum and dad just said, no, you're not focusing just on that. So that's how diving started. I did quite well within it, built my way throughout the sport. Very young as well. I became national champion within a year. I became senior national champion within a couple of years. I progressed onto the European Championships. By the time I was 13 or 14, I'd won the European Championships with my synchro partner. At 16, I won it on my own. Won, obviously, multiple UK-based things, multiple World Series, which is a little bit like Grand Prix in car racing. Where you go to like different places in the world of like a big circuit. For like an overall thing, but it'd be based on your country rather than you as an individual, if that makes sense. And then I obviously got Olympic qualifications. I came fourth in my first World Championships. Like it was just very progressive. It was very good. I was one of the best in the UK for a very long time. And my body just started to say no. Because I am just from a family that have not got very good joints.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I mentioned earlier, but you don't associate, or at least I don't associate diving with impact like that, the issues around potential joint issues. But then when you think about some of the force going through the springboard, I mean, actually I mentioned that, and then the first thing you said was actually it's the force going through the water.
Yeah.
And then again, makes even more sense. I imagine the smallest miscalculation and you're punished quite a bit for it, right? And I'm assuming that's where some of those issues come from. I'm not saying you're making many mistakes, by the way. I imagine you made very few mistakes, but still, when you're doing it so repetitively and you're probably training as consistently as you were.
I made lots of mistakes, and I made lots of mistakes as a bodybuilder. It makes you human, doesn't it? We're not robots. But there's just that tiny little, there's only like a slight angle that you need to do, and you slap in the water hard.
It feels like, I mean,
it's concrete. It's like concrete. Essentially, that if anybody who's untrained in it and they don't know how to land properly or navigate even how to land in a safe way if something's going wrong, it is like concrete. So I used to do 10 meters. I didn't do the springboard. So it was the high diving board that I did. And off the back of there, it's like 40 miles per hour that you hit at impact. So it's quite hard and intense. You do have, obviously, your arms way above your head rather than like in front of your face. I know I gave you the analogy of, if you were to press for a shoulder press, you'd always press slightly inclined rather than above head, because it's just so risky.
Yeah.
So there's no point in doing it because you're not going to build any more muscle by going overhead than slightly inclined. So you might as well do something that's safe for your joint. You just don't have the liberty of being able to be inclined when you're going through the water, because it's not then aerodynamic. The best thing that you can do when you dive is create as little splash as possible with your dive looking obviously very pretty. If you're not then aerodynamic because you've got your arms in the slightly wrong place, you're not going to make that little splash in the water.
Yeah.
And that's how you'd get more scores, etc. So my shoulders just started, I dislocated my shoulder once and subluxed it, so slightly dislocated it once more as well. And my coach just said, is it really worth it? And honestly, at that point, I was going into diving, into the training sessions, and I didn't want to be there.
You're losing the passion for it.
I was losing the passion because I was just in pain, but like not even just that, like even my ankles, my knees, like everything was just absolutely savaged.
And I'm going to assume, again, that inability to progress, that as you were saying before, it's, you're now thinking, well, how do I make steps forward? I'm already struggling. I've already got something holding me back. Yeah. And now how do I move forward with these problems? And again, I imagine that was probably the
icing on the cake.
Yeah, the icing on the cake when it came to making the decision to stop.
Yeah, so I have a very close relationship with my brother. He's the academic of the family. He's a doctor, he's an anaesthetist, and just progressing to being a consultant with that. So I respect him a lot because he's so much like me, that he's so progressive. It's strange because we don't come from a family that, is like high achievers. Like, I think that we were the only two in my family, apart from my cousins, that ever went to university. But hard workers, like pit workers, progress well through, the ranks with that. And like my dad, as much as he didn't do very well at school, like he's progressed so well with his job. My mum, she's the type of lady that, you're not never going to work. Like unless you've got your foot falling off, you're not going to work. I remember I had a big, massive car accident in 2018, and I had to have I didn't have my bones reattached, but I completely shattered my foot. So, like you get put in them traction things to try and
screw them all together.
Yeah. So I was putting essentially something like that to create for my bone to regrow. So I was obviously in a lot of pain. And I remember 2 days later, she's like, so are you going to work then? Bearing in mind, work had rang me to say,
no,
you can have like a couple of weeks off if you'd like to. I mean, I just sat in a chair. It's when I was working in corporate finance. But I was
but still, I mean, come on, you've just had your...
Bearing in mind, obviously I couldn't drive. It was in Leeds, so I had to then catch a train to then walk from the train station to work.
And your mum's like, yeah, you're going to work.
I went.
Fair enough.
Yeah, 3 days.
I think they're built different, aren't they, that generation?
Yeah,
I don't know whether it is... I mean, my parents are the same. I don't know whether it's a generational thing or whether there's a coincidence there. But I do think that generation is built on like grit and sawdust. There isn't... And I think it's almost built out of necessity, right?
100%.
If you don't go to work, you don't make the money. If you don't make the money, you are struggling.
Yeah, and nobody's going to...
And nobody's going to bail you out.
No, exactly. So I just respect my family a lot. When I decided in my head, I think it's time, because it was my identity diving, I didn't know if I could take a step back. I didn't know what other people would think.
How long you'd been doing it at this point?
So I was 8 when I started, and I would have been 22.
When you stopped?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. I thought it was a shorter period of time than that for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, so you'd really been at it, well, more than half of your life at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a very hard decision.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So...
Especially when it feels forced almost, like out of your hands.
Yeah. And like everybody had started, because there was times that I couldn't compete, people had started taking over. That's fine. But I was just like, I think it's time.
Yeah.
And my brother said, we spoke about it. I had my teaching that I wanted to progress into because that's what I was doing at university. So there was like an avenue. I'd not got anything, if you know what I mean. I knew that I had like a path forwards with what I wanted to do with teaching. So that's what I decided to do, call it a day, become a teacher, and I started going to the gym.
Right, okay. And that's where bodybuilding started to become a thing.
Yeah, so, I mean, most people know my friend Ria, Miss Olympia.
Yeah.
So I've known Ria since I was 10, 11, 12. Obviously, we used to go to diving trips together because we were both diving at the same time.
Yeah.
We ended up at university together and living together.
Mad.
Yeah. So she was starting to be in a bodybuilding era because she loved all the fitness stuff.
Right. Okay. Well, so she was into it before you.
Yes.
Okay.
Was
that do you think that was the influence then?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was going to the gym just like a cardio lady because I was
Can I just stop you? Do you know what I've noticed already about you is, well, there's two things actually. How you just kind of move from, and I know these were probably difficult things, but how you kind of just effortlessly move from one thing to another. I think a lot of people don't do things out of fear of not being very good at them, or maybe do one thing and then they struggle to transition to another because of exactly the same reason that you mentioned. It's kind of like your identity. And even if you know it's not serving you, they struggle. Like I've definitely been through that, played a sport, was okay at it, then knew I wasn't ever going to be great at it and kept encountering problems through injury. And similar to you, going to the gym was already kind of part of rugby. Yeah, and it was like it just existed in the background. But I couldn't have ever imagined picking up a new sport, whereas you've had gymnastics and dancing and diving and bodybuilding. It's like, I think that is the secret to finding your thing. I think a lot of people don't find their thing, and it doesn't just have to be specific to like a sport or something physical. It just needs to be, like a thing. And I think a lot of people fear throwing themselves at new things, whatever the fear is. But I usually think it's not being very good or just being at the bottom again to then work the way up. And something obviously you've done is you've tried a lot before you've got to something that you know, nearly, well, top, one of the best in the world in bodybuilding. I mean, to be fair, you've obviously got some kind of gift because you're nearly best in, like, you're working your way to one of the best in the world in diving. But again, I think something that I've noticed, sorry to go on a bit of a tangent, but something I've noticed between a lot of the guests that I've had on so far is there's this reoccurring reinforcement of each individual's experiences that tells them that they can be successful when they apply themselves again and again and again, regardless of whatever it is. Yeah. And it's like, if you've got that, it's almost like the proof, right? You do this and then you're pretty good at it. Okay, you don't want to do this now, or you encounter a bit of resistance, so you try something else and you're pretty good at it. And then all of a sudden it's kind of like, right, well, I've learned that if I can do something brand new, and I know when I apply myself, I'm going to be pretty good at it. So I can do that as many times as I want. I know you said you struggled with that identity thing, but was there not a part of you coming away from diving that thought you'll find another thing and whatever it is, you'll be pretty good? Or was that not a conscious thought you'd had?
So I've always thought to myself, hard work always triumphs. That's a mindset and something that I've always lived by, even from being very little. We used to have psychology lessons, even from being the age of 8. So I think mindset is everything.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
It doesn't matter if you're not going to be good at something, because you'll make yourself good at it if you can work hard. And you know that you'll probably come up against things that you maybe can't do very well. But like most things, you probably can. It's just the biggest thing for most people is they're just not consistent.
Yeah, I
agree. It's the inability to stay consistent when something doesn't go right. So if they're bodybuilding and they go on off their diet once, that's it, it's binned off, or they just keep on repeating that same cycle. It's the inability to stay consistent that holds a lot of people back. I would never not be consistent. Like, there is not an ounce in my body that wouldn't allow for me to do that, because if I'm going to do something, I might as well just give it everything, because what is the point in doing it if not?
Discipline, isn't it? Yeah. It's that.
I'm not about getting by. I'm just not that type of person. I coach people that maybe that might be how they are, and that is also fine, because if that's what they want to be like, that's no problem. But for me and the way that I am about my things, that's not me. Just
to sort of like delve into that a bit more, because I think there's something behind that, behind just like, oh, I have a mindset of wanting to be good at something, so I'm just going to do it consistently. There's more there behind seriously, there's more behind the mentality behind that. And like, how do you cultivate something like that? Like, I feel like I understand, or maybe it's different for me, and I've got my own ways of navigating my own mind to make sure that I am disciplined to the standard that I do want. But like, how have you been able to cultivate and build that kind of mindset towards something? Do you think it's innate? Do you think it's something you've learned off someone else? Is it something that you have instinctively learned to put together? And what is it? What are those things? I know it's quite a hard question to answer.
Okay, I like deep. It's good. I think it comes from one of two things. And one of them is probably, maybe not something that makes me look very good, but I like to impress.
Okay.
Like, it's...
So there's an external...
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. But it's not driven through someone giving me a trophy, or like someone that I don't know giving me a pat on the back or anything like that. But because I was so driven by the guy who this is what I said earlier when I said we were going to return back to Adam, my first initial coach. We'll probably come back to him 10 times over. But he was a hard-faced, excuse my French, motherfucker.
Fair.
Honestly, like, I remember I did my first ever, you get offered to come with all these athletes that are much more progressed, much more older than you, in a diving environment, different countries, etc., to show that you're great. It's like, right, I'm going to step up to the mark and I'm going to show the people that want to take me on to this next level within diving to be able to get more sponsorship, more opportunities. I'm going to show them. I remember doing a dive and it was actually decent. I came out of the water and he went, what was that? That is embarrassing. My dead grandmother can point her to, I mean, they're very like, you'd probably look at them and go, well, that's a bit of a silly thing to say. But you know, like when you're that young, like I think I was 13, something like that. We're getting out of the water in front of all these people that could speak English. And he's like, it was just dead silent. And he's grilling me. And I was like, and
how does that, was that motivating you then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like inside me, I was like, fuck you.
I'm going to show you.
I'm going to show you. So I think that those types of things of, you know, like there's been times in my diving career, bodybuilding career when people, I remember when I decided to change over to figure, she's never going to be good enough. She's never going to be big enough. She shouldn't be doing this. It's not for her.
Fuck you energy.
And I just thought, fuck you. Let me show you. You know, I come from a very small little town in Barnsley. Like there's not a lot going on. And I just think not many people can step up to the mark, or, you know, there's people in, I guess then there's the more sensitive side to me that I just think there's people in this world that probably could be a lot better than that, but they don't have the opportunities that I do. So why not just give it everything? So it's both sides of the coin. Let me show you, because most people are going to say that you can't. And, you know, the more success that you get, there's more people, more naysayers, is that the word?
Yeah.
So you'll get more negativity. You'll get more people saying, no, or you this, or you that, or whatnot. And I just love that. Like, keep on saying, because I'm gonna show you.
Yeah.
But then in the same breath, when it comes to, you know, tapping into the ability to step up to the mark and keep on going with the consistency, etc., there's the other side of the coin where I just think I'm okay with being uncomfortable. And I think that's what holds a lot of people back, is that they're not okay with being uncomfortable. If I come up with I fail with something, or something doesn't go quite so right, etc., or there's something emotional going on, or there's, you know, I mean, sorry to go a bit deep, but, you know, like there's a death in the family or there's something like that, I don't use that as an excuse not to do it. And like, there's something every day, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's something that could hold you back.
Yeah.
I don't like those things.
In any given moment, there's something negative to focus on.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm sure that you've spoken to others and, you know, every day there's something. Every day there's an opportunity for things not to go the way that you do. And most people just like, take over.
I like the idea that, and again, I imagine maybe this is something you think consciously, but also you clearly feel in how you operate that. And this is something actually more recent that I've like been able to consciously be aware of, is discomfort, friction, stress, pain is usually the precursor to growth.
Yep.
You expose yourself more to hard things, things that make you feel uncomfortable, things that in the moment you don't particularly enjoy. You will adapt, you will grow, you will become better and evolve. And I think a lot of people are quite short-sighted.
They're just okay with being comfortable.
And I think, no, do you know what? I think there are some people out there that are content. I think, and that is, you know, that's because
I wish I could be that way.
I don't know. Nah, fuck that. I don't want to be content. I think there are people out there who are happy to settle and are content with what they have, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think there are also people out there who do want more for themselves, but they're a little bit short-sighted in their understanding of how being good works, and what I mean by short-sighted is they experience the discomfort, or they see the discomfort, don't even go through it. They just see the discomfort, and that's all they can focus on. It's this is scary, or this is painful, or this is stressful, or I'm going to be stressed, or this is going to be painful. And actually, if they look beyond that bit onto the next bit, they'll see it's this that will create this. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They miss what's next? And so they'll either sit in the pain and go, oh, I don't want to do that again, or they'll just not even encounter the pain out of fear of it being painful.
Just try and navigate it by going in a different direction and never stepping forward.
Exactly, yeah. And obviously that's something that you've clearly been more aware of as you've gone for, particularly in the bodybuilding scene, because it does get, well, as you've been exposed to it, it can get
spicy.
Yeah, spicy is one way of putting it. It can get spicy. It can get quite negative, and not just like the external stuff, but like internally for you, what you've got to do. It just progressively gets more difficult, right? But again, it's like it's almost, and I'm loving that at the moment. We spoke earlier about my prep in the short period of time and what I've got to do, and it's like I'm like embracing the challenge, like relishing it. I'm going to sit in this pain. It sucks, but you know, so what? Like the other side of this is knowledge. I learn something, or there's a result, and I get to take from that, and that is where I evolve, I grow. And you've clearly built that over, well, all your life, based on what you've told me so far. I went on a bit of a tangent there.
We like tangents.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's good. I appreciate you letting me talk.
That's fine. I'm a listener as well as a talker.
Right, the transition from diving to bodybuilding. So obviously there's Rhea, her influence there. Yeah. You went to university.
That was good that you remembered that.
Thank you very much. I'm
That's good.
Becoming a better podcaster. So you went to uni. You were learning to teach.
Yep.
And then started transitioning into bodybuilding.
Yeah.
From there.
So I was teaching. Well, I was training to teach. And I started going to the gym because I hated what I looked like. As an athlete, it's great, but you built like a bit of a brick when you're diving because everything's core.
Solid.
It's like I look like SpongeBob.
Yeah, you've got a bit. All the muscle is built, isn't it? You're not sculpting. You adapt. According to
even like a lot of the girls that I was diving at the same time. I was. All of us did. Like we had these skinny legs because they needed to be. Well, they had some muscle, but they needed to be streamlined.
Yeah. Streamlined. That was
really thick midsections, but not like that way. Just like outwards, and then just broad.
Bit CrossFitter, but without the legs.
Yeah, and extra chlorinated, snapped off hair.
I'm seeing the SpongeBob look even more now. Like, I didn't think about the legs, but now, yeah.
It wasn't a good look. So I wanted to sculpt myself, but I didn't know how to do it. So I started going to the gym, and I knew how to train. I knew how to train in a diving capacity because we did S&C for so long.
Yeah.
But it was all like plyometrics rather than being strength based. I could like squat, bench, dead, and I did that like the entirety of my first ever competition prep as a bikini athlete because I didn't know anything else. Didn't know what a hip thrust was.
Wow, okay.
So I went to the gym. I was doing cardio, and the guy that owned it, because he was coaching Rhea at the time, Darren, he came over and he said, "You should try a comp prep." So he put me on this like 800 calorie diet. I was on it.
Straight in.
It's fine. I had like a cardio in the morning, cardio in the evening, and I didn't change anything for like 13 weeks and stood on stage for the first time. And I loved it. I loved every part of it. I looked like shit. I came last. I mean, I didn't look like shit. I didn't look like the other girls. Probably should have known at that point that I was figure, but decided to pursue a bikini for a while. In that first year, I actually did a toned figure competition as well because I really wanted to do a toned figure routine.
Oh yeah.
So I did that with Naba, a guy who was called Paul Scarborough that most people know in the UK is like an old school bodybuilder. He judged and he was like, you can do good at this. He was like, but you shouldn't do bikini, you should do figure. And I should have listened to him. But I didn't. And I obviously decided to continue bikini. I mean, I was lucky because I won my pro card.
Lucky doesn't exist.
I worked hard to ensure that I won my pro card. However, that was just like a byproduct. I had no idea what being a pro was.
Right, okay.
I had no want to be, not that I didn't want to become a pro, I wanted to progress.
It's crazy that you have the skills to be able to turn pro at that level, and that's not the goal. The goal is to be very good.
Yeah. So,
that's the thing, isn't it, with you?
Yeah, I wanted to be, that year, I wanted to experience lots of different federations. So 2016, I won my turn figure competition. I came last in bikini. I was much leaner for my turn figure. If I would have been leaner into my first comp, I probably would have done quite well. But I didn't know any different. The following year, I won. It was like UKBFF at that time. I won quite a big show at the start of the year in May. So I got my qualification to go to the Arnold's Barcelona. I came 5th there, which was actually really good because back then that was like how you would have won your pro card. Still had no idea what that was, by the way, at that time.
Right, okay. That's it's so strange because that just would never happen now, would it?
No.
There's no way. Like, imagine a bikini girl going into and competing and she's just competing and she's like, oh, you're going for your pro card? And she's like, you're like, what?
Yeah, like that wasn't. I mean, I knew who Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler and everybody was, you know?
That's your understanding of bodybuilding is Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler?
That was at the time, yeah.
Right, okay.
I was just having a great time. And I was enjoying being a savage in the gym, committing to my diet, getting lean, just enjoying it. And then, I mean, other people around me were becoming a pro, but like I didn't really understand what that meant. And then I started getting training at Rotherham. And then obviously it naturally progressed on to me then dating Kuba.
Yeah.
And then...
How quickly between joining Ultraflex, Iron Athlete, and then dating Kuba?
October, November, December. 7 months. Yeah.
How old were you guys at that point?
2018, so we would have been 25, 26, I think.
25, 26.
Maybe we were 24. That was like 8 years
8
ago.
years ago.
Yeah, it's 24.
Oh, yeah, we're the same age, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
24 years old. 8 years, wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
No, it is. It is like 8 years.
He was a young lad. He had things that he was working through at the time, so...
He was a fixer-upper.
He was, yeah. So I decided to get coached by him only because I was getting coached by Rob LRF.
Oh, yeah.
And I had nothing against Rob. And I did super well with him the year before with the British finals. And it was just, Kuba was saying some things and then Rob would be saying some things. And I was like, it's very different. And if I'm in a household with someone, I can't have this conflicting of opinion.
So you guys were already together at this point.
Yes, and I was still getting coached by Rob because I didn't want to get coached by Kuba because he was
your
my partner.
Yeah, and that's a very tricky. I mean, yeah, with that, you know, in hindsight, obviously a great decision, but without that, you can be a bit tentative. It can be
100%. And I never left anything negative with Rob. Like he messaged me he was my first person that messaged me to say congratulations about my pro card. He was the first person that texted me when Kerry won her Olympia qualification to say, I knew that you were going to become a fantastic coach. Huge congratulations. Like he's always been super kind to me. I know many people don't have a good opinion, but he's always been so nice to me. And it just naturally, because Kuba never had an opinion on anything that I did. He never said boo to a goose because it's my choice. But when he's saying certain things to his athletes and I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, that would probably work a lot better for me as well.
Well, when he just has certain opinions and obviously you're exposed to those opinions.
And I saw his progress.
Yeah, I mean.
So, and like the way that he trained, and I was like, I want my training to be like that specific to me because I knew all the girls were doing the same training as what I was in the team. And, you know, we're all very different in how we look and how we work. Just in regard to Kuba, because obviously my, how I know him in terms of his knowledge, but less so what he knows, because I know he knows a lot. Yeah. He's very, very intelligent when it comes to bodybuilding. Yeah. But when did that, obsessive, like super obsessive thirst for information around being, around bodybuilding, come from? Was at the time when you met him and this was happening, was he just, I know some people, including Kuba himself, might take, or begrudge me saying this, but like I've seen what he looked like at 24, 25. He wasn't, he gifted, feels like I'm doing him a disservice, but gifted, he was massive. And you don't know many 25-year-olds looking like Kuba did at 25. No. And so it's like, at what point did that happen? And was the influence he was having on you at that point because you could see how
like in it he was within bodybuilding, or was it just his enthusiasm for bodybuilding? Was it the knowledge, or was it the passion, or both?
So, as we've spoken about from previous things with me, and how I've been with competing in other avenues, and the willingness to want to learn and progress. Like, he was the same about this. I was like, oh, that's really attractive. I found that way more attractive than what I did his body and his face. Not that I didn't, because the first thing's got to be the looks. Obviously, we know that. But that's what I was more drawn to from Kuba. But he was very knowledgeable when we first started. But I would say it would have been more old school bodybuilding knowledge.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because his methods have changed.
Yeah, certainly. Massively. So
as he's evolved as an athlete and bodybuilder himself.
Yeah, definitely. And then he started, it was honestly maybe just before or around the year of lockdown, that he then started having more consults with other individuals. He started really getting like a want and a desire to be
like a proper burning fire to just know everything.
Yeah, and the way in which he could articulate himself about anything to do with bodybuilding. Like, I think that my mum and dad and brother, specifically brother, because obviously he's very educated, had an opinion of him, of probably what he's like, he's a bit of a meathead, etc.
Yeah.
And then you have a conversation with him and you're like, whoa.
Super intelligent.
For him to say something like, he knows his stuff and he's very well versed in what he's trying to talk about.
He is. You don't obviously get to where Kuba's got to and be able to articulate the way that he does over social media without having a level of knowledge and confidence behind you. It
really makes me laugh, and I don't mean this negatively towards anyone, but many people can seem very smart on socials. You can have something in front of you to write it, to speak off of. You can write a post,
script,
you can
prompter,
create,
AI,
all sorts. When it comes to like sitting down and having a conversation to someone in depth about, unpicking, problem solving, all them things about the process of bodybuilding, which actually is like, if you need to go into it deeply, like, it's very scientific.
I agree.
You can go bro science if you want to, but if you actually want to optimize your journey for a very long period of time, you are going to have to think into it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, the way he can do that for anyone, if he looks at something and just can know what to do, I've never met anyone like that.
Yeah,
and I've been around many people.
I got to experience that firsthand when I did those 2 consults with him, and it was quite impressive. Like, there was definitely a bit of ego on my end when I did that consult, and a part of me was thinking,
bodybuilding's full of that.
Yeah, definitely. And I knew he would know more than me, but really,
it shocks you, didn't it?
Displayed, his depth of knowledge around things when on such like specific things, and I came away from those consults like really, and I consider myself fairly well versed within all things bodybuilding, but that was very impressive. So he's like quite a massive influence then on your or on that journey. Obviously,
I would never have become the bodybuilder, the coach, into business stuff that I have if it wasn't for Kuba. Not that I don't have the tools in terms of my effort and my ability to work hard, but in terms of tools, in terms of education, or even just to know where to go for education. Like, none of that would have come if it weren't for meeting Kuba.
That was actually one of my next questions, which was the influence that he's had on you, and I think that question is split into 2 parts. The first one is, and I imagine they're very difficult questions to answer wholly, but the first part is the influence he's had on your bodybuilding career, and you've just said there, bodybuilding, coaching, business, all of it, you wouldn't be where you are now without Kuba and his influence. But I think the other part is just life generally, like the influence he's had on you as a human being, and your outlook and your mindset and just everything, I guess.
So we're going very deep here. That. Okay. So
I think because the reason why I ask these questions, the reason why I like particularly you, and again with Kuba, because obviously I'll be podcasting with him hopefully in the near future, is if we can set a date and stick to it, Kuba. Hopefully, well, what I'm trying to achieve by asking these questions is, you two are individually hyper successful in your chosen or in your given areas and fields, right? And you can see how each one of you rubs off on the other. And I guess I'm trying to work out how, who takes which bits, and then how you then apply those bits, and how that's evolved over time, to try and get a better understanding of the dynamic there. And I think, at least from the outside, the big one that you have in common is just straight progress. Like you're both just obsessed with just moving forward, being better, and obviously that's something that will bring you together and is a commonality between the two of you that magnetizes the two of you. But then how you apply that, how you create that for yourselves will no doubt be slightly different, right? And so you will learn how to pull bits from each other to apply, and then I'm assuming be better at doing that yourselves. And so I'm like, I want to try and like dissect that and understand it a bit more, because it is mega interesting.
Oh, thank you. So I guess we can go back to 2018. We were both very similar minded as we are now ourselves, but not connected together.
Yeah.
So we had so many arguments when, like, everybody starts off with their relationships being super steady and calm, and then the arguments come, and either it breaks down and they pass ways, or they can fight through it.
Yeah.
Them arguments started right from the off, because we're just so different. I am very emotionally charged.
Okay.
I am very naive. I am very soft and gentle.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the polar opposite.
Complete
of that.
opposite.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was just so many, maybe, I don't know, insecurities from my side, or too much ego from Kuba's side, and not willing to like be different because that other person is different. And over time, from a personality, a personal perspective, that really started to break down the more arguments, discussions, conversations that we had with each other, because like the physical can only take you so far. If you can create a really deep understanding and
emotional
genuine, like Kuba he's not an emotional guy, but he can come to me with anything. Like, I'm probably the only person in his life that he would say anything to, and he knows that he would never get judged.
As in like a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he might talk about that.
Which I think, again, what you've said there is, sorry, going to backtrack to how you were fighting, or not fighting, but arguing, and like, cats and dogs at the start of your relationship. I think,
or should I say Kuba was argumentative? I just cried.
I've learned that within relationships, the one that you described before yours, so where everything, the honeymoon period, that is you giving up and sacrificing your own boundaries to impress and let someone and get the best of someone. And what you've done is what I consider to be the right way to engage in a relationship is you both have your boundaries. You don't let each other overstep them. Now, of course, you can't just have these really outlandish boundaries and like bully someone else into submitting to yours, but equally you will have yours. And by the sounds of it is you're both quite strict on what it is that you want and who you are and how you defend those boundaries. And over time you've learned to slightly manipulate and adjust your own to make your relationship frictionless and coordinate it together so that it works properly, rather than letting each other overstep each other's boundaries all the time, letting it get away for a while, and then a year down the line go, actually, I don't like this, and it becomes more of a problem because it's coming out of nowhere, right? So I find that quite interesting, because that's not the norm.
No.
But equally, I think...
And the amount of people, you know, that we were friends with that said, oh, well, probably more from my side. I'm not too sure from Kuba's side because his friends are just amazing. I'm not saying that mine aren't, but, you know,
No.
girls' friends have more opinions.
Of course.
He's not for you. Shouldn't be like this. Definitely not in the beginning, etc. And my mum was like, well, actually, yeah, it should be.
Oh, really? Your mum understood that this is how it should be, set the boundaries, get the shit out of the way. That's good. Okay.
Yeah. So we are just very different. We were cats and dogs at the start.
Yeah.
Eventually, over time, that's just turned into him being able to break down to me. And I would say that the biggest change happened 2023, 2024. Like, it wasn't that long ago that, like, we don't argue as much anymore. There's things.
Normal couples. Yeah,
couples
normal
always
shit.
do. But we just have this deep understanding that I want to go somewhere. Kuba wants to go somewhere. Yes, most of it is in the same direction, but like individually as well as a team, even though it works well as a team, even though we are individual. But he brings out a side of me that I would have never have had if it wasn't for Kuba. And I bring out a side in Kuba because, like, he's able to be more, you know, emotionally connected to his clients because of how I am.
Yeah.
He's also able to take a breath, not react quite as much because that's the way that I am.
Yeah.
I'm also not someone that's easily pushed over anymore.
Yeah.
Because I used to be. Like, I would people please to the back nines, and I'm just not about that anymore. Like, there's just certain things that, but in a way that it's healthy, not in a way that, you know,
I get
it's
that.
not, he's like an emotionally driven, soppy person now, and I'm not.
No, but
like,
he's taken the exact right amount within your relationship setting. He's taken the exact right amount that he's needed for you guys to be to function effectively.
Yeah.
But then in doing so, it's allowed him to have new skills that have then been able to apply that within coaching.
Yeah,
for example.
coaching, life, business. But like, I can't take all the ownership. Like, he's doing so much work on himself. He's gotten so many great individuals, mentors around him that have also tried to reinforce these things as well. But it's also nice.
But you will have one of the biggest impacts.
I mean, I'd like to hope so. And I
think so.
I'm sure that, you know, maybe if you asked him that 4 years ago, he wouldn't have said that. But maybe if you asked him now, maybe you would. But then, would I have said that 4 years ago? Maybe not.
Maybe
Because
not.
you try to be, you know, the person that's the one that's bringing the most.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I honestly wouldn't be where I am today in, like, so many different ways if it wasn't, like, you don't owe anything to anyone.
No.
But, like, I am so grateful to Kuba for everything that I've got and that everything that I've been able to achieve, because honestly, without him,
He's been the catalyst to it all.
Yeah, 100%. I would not be the person that I am. I would not have been the athlete that I am without all the tools that he's been able to lay out for me.
Amazing. That's it's nice to hear. And I think you can see it, like, you can see the influence. And I think I'm really looking forward to this podcast with Kuba, because I think he'll say a lot of the same things, but in different ways.
Yeah, and you know, he actually goes quite deep if you want him to go very deep as well.
No, I got some of that on the consults as well, which was nice. It's unusual because obviously you don't get to see it from the outside. What he portrays is, I think you said once to me when we were on Ultraflex, the version of Kuba that people see through social media and maybe externally in person is a very, very different Kuba to the one at home. Whilst obviously there are aspects and traits that are him, are authentically him in both of those scenarios. What he produces to the world publicly or you know, in the gym is very different to who he's more comfortable being in front of, you know, just yourself.
Absolutely.
Which I think is normal for most. I just think from what you've explained to me, there's a more stark contrast with Kuba.
Yeah, 100%. He's a very different person when he's out and about compared to when he's at home. But I love that because I get to know him. Not anybody else really does.
Yeah.
So, you know, people can have opinions, people can say whatever.
It makes you feel special.
Yeah, because I know the real person.
That's cool. I like that. So moving on. Next question.
Yeah.
Assistance within bodybuilding, female bodybuilding.
Ooh, we're getting extra deep.
No, I don't. We don't need to. It's not particularly personal to you. I just think, as a generalized conversation, something that you've experienced, and someone who has experience in that side of bodybuilding. And I guess I feel like you've already answered the question that I'm about to ask. Okay. But I guess, where was the incentive to do that?
Take the path.
Yeah, to take that path.
Yep.
Like I said, I feel like I know the answer, but I'll let you answer it for me.
I want to know your answer.
Progress.
Yeah.
Being the best, or us being as good as you can be.
Yeah. Once I became a pro, I knew that I didn't want to do bikini. And I did a cycle of Anavar in my last 6 weeks of being a bikini amateur. So, I mean, I don't know if that helped me to win my pro card or not, but, you know, who knows? I decided I just didn't want to do it anymore because it wasn't me. I didn't like the flopping about on stage and the hair flicking and all that stuff. And you could see that there was a trend going in bikini where, like, before it was very much shape and just petite, whereas then it was becoming very just glutes.
Yeah.
Dance. I mean, I don't have the best glutes genetically, especially like the insertions that you'd need for where that needed to be compared to, like, anytime I trained that, I was going to always get a lot more quad eventually at some point. So it was just my lats were huge. So it was just a natural progression for me to go into figure. As soon as I became a pro, as much as I spoke about the fact that, I didn't want to become, not that I didn't want to become a pro, I didn't really understand it. I wanted to go to the Olympia.
Really? Straight away?
As soon as I became a pro, I was like, okay, I understand now. My next task is Olympia. I want to go to the Olympia.
Fair fucking play.
Yeah, and I knew that there was
figure.
Yep.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I knew that there was that's why people said so many nasty things. It's really funny because I have conversations with individuals and I know they said nasty things and they tell me that I'm an inspiration. I just think, well, remember what you said.
Yeah.
I remember the day that I decided to become a figure pro, I went to King's Gym in Croydon.
Yeah. I
was training with James Hollinshead, Kuba and Jordan Peters. And Jordan, after the session, went, you should do figure. I was like, I know.
And that was it?
And that was it.
Or had you already made the decision? Had you been flirting with it?
I'd made the decision in my head that I wanted to do figure.
But that was like confirmation?
I kept doing figure posts in my check.
Right, okay.
And even in my bikini days, I'd do like the shots and Kuba was like, oh, they look so good. I'm like, I know. And yeah, I just decided at that point that, that was my calling. I knew that I wasn't going to get there naturally. Like, if anyone is naive enough to think that any of those girls that have done figure and progressed are natural, like, you're very silly. There are girls that are so blessed to not see change visually, virilization wise, etc. And sometimes it's actually not that they're taking less. They're just so lucky.
It's their individuality to the impact of drugs.
Again, I am very good friends with Rhea. And our usage has not been much different. I mean, she's Miss Olympia.
I imagine you get...
She's Miss Olympia. We're not going to talk about details because she needs to protect.
But I imagine you get an idea of like what's going on in the circuit, right? And then I imagine you kind of...
Well, even more so now with coaching because girls share... it's very sad actually because I had a conversation with a girl who I used to compete and I really wish that when I was competing that more people would talk about it. But she's like, I don't really have anyone to talk to. Like, I'm very depressed. My estrogen is like through the floor. Through a well-known coach who goes on social media often talking about usage in females. And it's not even that her milligrams was bad, but like the overuse of an AI. She's like really messed up and I feel really sorry for her. Anyway, by the by, I decided at that point, I'm not going to be able to get there naturally. I decided to just stay with Anavar to begin with. My first 2 years I took completely off from stage before doing my pro debut was figure athlete. And again, just always cycles of anabolic. I'd do like 2 max per year, 8 weeks long. I didn't obviously see progress in terms of my physique that I really wanted to.
You still made a hell of a lot of progress.
I made a lot of progress, yeah. Like,
but I understand the amount of density and muscle you need to put on.
I just remember standing backstage at my pro debut, looking at my body, like knowing that I looked really good compared to, but I didn't want to just look really good for me.
Yeah, you wanted to.
I wanted to win. So, you know, you talk to girls backstage. They are honest, maybe not honest on like amounts and things, but types.
Yeah.
And like there was things coming up that was just very common. And I was like, right, I need to have an honest conversation here with Kuba then after my season, because it was quite a lengthy season, and it was after Romania 2020 that I turned to him and I said, I think that I want to utilise something that's maybe a little bit harsher, but I need to know from not a coaching perspective. I need to know from obviously a relationship perspective that you're okay with that. And he said, yeah, that's fine. Like nothing ever in terms of androgens was driven from Kuba. Obviously, he would support me with what we would have consults with people that were educated around, you know, I had changed, my voice changed, things like that. But like I've come away from bodybuilding, I still have all of my hair on my head. Like this is all my hair. I have great skin. Like my voice is a little deeper, yes. But like,
did you notice? Have you noticed it's soft? It's got softer.
It's
like
got so much softer.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's overused, skin gets awful. They have no hair. Their voice does not go back. The changes that they've seen, like permanent. Yeah. Whereas as much as I'm not going to go back to how I was, it's definitely
there's definitely been
everything's changed.
Regression.
Yeah, a regression in the progression of getting a bit more masculine, which is fine. We can talk about that. I have no issues talking about anything, and I'm very aware. People say it, and people say as if to say, "Can like you see what these people are saying?"
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, but like what they're saying is true. Like as much as they're being harsh about it,
you aware and you own it, and that's your decision. And
yeah. So I decided that I wanted to go on more injectables. I knew that there was going to be more of a change, and in my opinion, that was okay for me.
And that's all that matters. As long as you're happy with it and you understand and as you mentioned with your friend a minute ago, I think it's feeling like you fully understand and are aware of the implications of the things that you do. And I think to tie into this question that I asked you was at the bottom was any advice to any women that would want to go down that path. And I think that's at least my guess would be that's the thing. It's understanding what it is that you're doing and the potential impact that it will have, and making sure that your expectations of what could potentially happen and the result that you're striving for, those two things align.
Firstly, it's your choice. Someone and a coach, you should never just take what they say and run with it. You should be the one that's making that decision. Also doing your own research. No one is to blame other than what, like that lady individually. I don't know her, and I understand that she's probably gone through a lot, but at the end of the day, it is also your choice. Like if you're getting, like I have my clients and they research creatine, they research glutamine, etc. Like, why are we not researching as a female what are on that list of supplements that you're getting told to take? Why are you not researching those things to understand what they are and what they're going to do? Do
you feel like there is enough accessible information out there to make a informed decision? Because I think that might be my argument there in terms of what you've said. If you were to look up creatine, there's probably millions of different studies to back up what it is that you think you know and what you find out, and they all probably like align to some degree. Whereas the information out there regarding PEDs and females is maybe a bit more limited and nuanced and sometimes conflicting.
Yeah, but everything's conflicting, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think, fair. I mean, 2020, there was enough evidence and enough research for me to make a decision, knowing that I'm putting my fertility on the risk. I'm putting my voice, my hair, my facial changes on the risk.
Yeah.
I knew those things in 2020. If girls do not know that in 2026, then they're not doing research.
I think the confusion, from my experience speaking to females and hearing these kind of stories, you know, in the background, I think the problem is you have fully understood and accepted the consequences, whilst try to manage it to the best of your ability. Ultimately, if it happens, and that's your choice, and you're going to own that shit. I think some of the problems that some female athletes that go assisted encounter are they want to go assisted, but they really don't want any of the side effects. And so they try and navigate their way through assistance, hoping to avoid any negative side effects, and then get caught out and then go, oh my God, it's happened. This is this problem. And then regret the decision. And ultimately, if you're not prepared to put that on the line and risk that, because you can't fully control the outcome. Doesn't matter if you do a little bit of anabol or whether you're using tren, right? How you react is specific to you, and if you're unfortunate enough, any little amount may affect you quite severely, and if it does, you've got to own that shit.
Exactly that. I think that comes down to my exact advice. You can't control how you're going to change. What you can control is, are you willing to accept that change? Because if you aren't, then there's no point in taking it, regardless of how big your goals are within bodybuilding. If you aren't willing to potentially risk never having to have a child in the future, if you aren't willing to accept the fact that you might lose some hair more, or gain more hair in areas that you don't want to, or you aren't willing to risk, areas of your body that's supposed to be intact, not to be any longer intact, so your female parts, or your voice changing. If you aren't willing to accept those risks, and it's not even, some girls will say, well, the goal doesn't mean enough to you. It's not about that. If you aren't willing to accept those risks for in the future,
it's not about. I get what you're saying. It's not about going, oh, you just don't want it enough, or it's just acknowledging that this could be the consequence.
Yeah, I think you can go down the route of you don't want it enough if you're not committing to your diet, or you're not in the gym when you're feeling a bit tired, etc. When it comes to like change that's physiologically changing you for the future, that's very different. And you have to be willing to accept those things, those risks, if you are going to take that step.
You just said physiological changes, and I've just thought, what about psychological changes? Did you notice that there was anything in terms of how you behaved, or how you thought? Because using assistance myself, I'm kind of, a lot of the stuff that I use is kind of in line with how my body works anyway, right? It's a completely different, it's completely different mechanistically. Whereas with females, obviously there's a little bit of leeway there, but to a certain point, you're kind of going against your body's natural process. Yeah. Did you notice for me, I noticed that there's just more of who I am in certain ways. Whereas, did you notice that there was a notable shift in like how you thought, or how you conducted yourself, or how you communicated, or anything like that?
I'm a very emotionally stable person, and I always have been, but anabolics definitely changed things for me, yes. So when I was a little bit more egotistical. I was able to not be that way to others. Maybe at times I was a little bit like that towards Kuba, because he was there.
Yeah.
Which he probably didn't like that side, because that's not like me at all. I'm not like that.
It comes away from your natural role within there. Role.
Yeah. And I didn't quite like that at times. And then the other thing was, when I came off cycles, I am not a depressive person, but like the thoughts and feelings and emotions that I went through at times was just not nice at all.
Awful.
Yeah, especially after it wasn't after the Olympia in 2024, it was after my first run of competitions. And again, there was nothing different being taken. It was a very long period of time that I was away from home, because I was doing competition after competition. I don't know if that played into it, but goodness gracious, was I in a very dark place.
Really?
Yeah.
What can you sort of elaborate on that for me? Like what?
Yeah, I'm not going to say like I was suicidal or anything like that.
No.
Because it wasn't like that. But, you know, that like real get up and go that I usually have, like the wanting to get out of bed to do my check-ins with my clients, or even go to the gym, go for a walk with the dog. Like those little things, those little wins in the day that I usually really love. I just had no drive to do them. I did them 100%. Like I would never not do those things because I know that they usually make me feel good.
You know, if I was to say, did everything feel like it was just a bit grey?
Yeah, grey and heavy.
Yeah,
is the right term. Yeah.
Would you say that? I know people don't want to label it as something, or you might not want to label it as something, but do you feel like it was your depression or something along those? Because I understand there are ranges of that, but do you feel like you were going through a depressive episode?
Yeah, I would say that it was just a very heavy time. I don't like to use the D word for me because there's ladies and gentlemen that really do suffer with their mental health very deeply, and I would never want to put a disservice to the things that they go through because it's very, very dark. But it was a very dark time for me. Yeah, and you know, I should have been very happy because I just won 2 Olympia qualifications.
Yeah, but that's not how it works.
No.
Like that's, you know, how you think, how your brain functions.
At the time, I was super happy. That first week after the shows, I was super happy.
And I suppose actually that's the other thing as well is that a tremendous high, and it might not even be. I mean, obviously hormones and anabolics will have contributed, but maybe you hear, you know, athletes all the time go through these absolutely insane highs and then back to normality only a few days later as if nothing's happened.
Crash.
Yeah, and like that contrast can imagine is crazy. Like it's a very...
But I was very similar like it after most cycles. Not as bad as that.
Exacerbated maybe by that, but still...
But definitely still felt that pull afterwards. Yeah.
2 questions. Do you think if you'd have continued, you could have won the Olympia?
As in, like, do you want me to answer that right now?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. And that might play into the next question, which is, why did you stop?
I knew that I wanted to retire. So it wasn't driven from a negative place. Like if I wanted to continue, I could, and I could have done fantastic. If I could continue forever, I would. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But there's a catalyst as a female, not from an anabolics perspective, even though we're going to go down the route of that, that, you know, even just heavy dieting takes a massive toll on your body, your period stopping, even like what it does to your skin.
Your sex hormones shut down, don't they?
Yeah, like I love to have my libido. And
well, I mean, don't we all?
Yeah, and I don't like feeling like I don't want to have that drive for that. So, you know, there's those different things that have that impact. But the biggest thing for me was when I started becoming a figure athlete, I said to Kuba, I want to go to the Olympia. I would love to come top 10. And then I want to call it a day because I don't want to take anabolics forever. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, yep, that is my goal. And as soon as I won my pro shows, I don't know if that plays into the heaviness, but as soon as I won my pro shows the day after, I remember sitting there and I wasn't crying or anything like that. I was just smiling and my friend was with me and he was like, what's the matter? I was like, well, this is my year, isn't it? I was like, I'm going to Olympia and then I'm done. He was like, are you actually going to commit to that? Because he's like my closest friend. He's I don't think that there's anything that I've not told that boy. And he's just said, are you sure? Is that what you want to do? I was like, yeah. I said, if I have something that I want to do and I have a vision and I know when it's going to finish as well, that is my end point. So I knew that the Olympia was going to be my last competition. I spoke to Kuba about this 4 years ago. So 4 years ago. So he knew, I don't know if he remembered, but I didn't say anything either. The entire of my Olympia prep, it wasn't pulling me back in anything, like I was committed to the goal and the drive. But the biggest thing for me is I didn't want to take anabolics anymore. And I understand females that do want to continue to do that. But I don't know if I want children, but I also don't want to be the reason that I can't have them. I don't want to end up in complete hormonal shutdown where I need HRT super early in my life and, can't recover my body. And I want to stay looking young as a 32-year-old.
Yeah.
Like if you continue bodybuilding, like there's certain ethnicities or even just like certain individuals, like we said before, they can get away with it.
Let off.
Yeah, whereas like a lot of English ladies that continue, you just look old.
You can see the impact.
Yeah, and I just don't want that for my life.
It goes back to what you were saying about initially using PEDs. It's that risk assessment and understanding the trade-off. And you've obviously got to a point now where you've just gone, this isn't worth what is, like, you've said that you didn't think you could win the Olympia. So, regardless of whether you could or couldn't, in your mind, you couldn't or weren't going to within, your era of bodybuilding. And so at that point you go, right, well, am I going to continue doing what I'm doing right now? And the negative implications from that for what am I gaining from doing it? And I suppose you've again, that equation changes and all of a sudden there's a different outcome.
Yeah, 100%. So I do think that I could have come top 10. Do you know, if I'm being really honest, if I would have really pushed things, I probably would have been a better women's physique competitor than a figure. But I'm not willing to do that. And as much as, the powers that be within the bodybuilding fraternity say, you shouldn't need to take anabolics and, these girls develop up there, like you've got no idea.
Yeah.
How much like things do get pushed, and that's fine. I take my hat off to all these girls that keep on competing season after season and continue to take that. But I knew that I was maybe the biggest thing that I could do was get to the top 10. I mean, I came top 15.
Yeah.
I came second call outs at the Olympia, like in a very big lineup, in a
How
very
many
competitive.
girls?
There was 32 or 34 of us.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was
year.
like 30, like it's between. I knew it was between 30 and 40.
Yeah, somewhere between. I can't remember. It was a big year, wasn't it? Because it was the 2024 year. I can't remember. There was loads of us, so it was a really good outcome. And I mean, the girl who came 7th, I actually beat her twice that year, so I don't really know how that went. But I understand that at the Olympia I did look a little bit large compared to what I did at the start of the year. I just grew. But yeah, I didn't want to take PDs any longer. I also knew that if I wasn't going to take PDs, I could have continued to compete, and people probably have that opinion of, well, you're not going to take PDs, you could still at least compete season after season. I would have done worse because there is a lot of support and assistance that goes, well, I'm not saying a lot, but there's enough that when you're doing it naturally compared to if you're doing it assisted, it's a very different look.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have competed as a figure pro naturally and done better or done well. I would have got worse in terms of my rankings. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have looked great, but I wouldn't have looked A, how I did, or B, from the perspective of being able to win a pro show.
And what's required. And
if we go back to what we spoke about when we first started, the reason that I didn't want to do diving, continue diving, but from a springboard perspective rather than high board, or continue dancing because I wouldn't be able to get these roles because of my height. If I can't do something better or well, I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I know that maybe some people have a negative feeling about that mindset, but
your passion isn't. Whilst I have no doubt in my mind, you can't just do bodybuilding and love it because of progression. You've got to kind of enjoy the thing as well. But a lot of your enjoyment with what you do is based on improving and being very, very good or better than others. There is that competitive edge. Yeah. And in your mind, clearly, if there's no more room for improvement, or at least from a subjective bodybuilding placing point of view, there isn't, then the trade-off isn't worth it. And then obviously you've made the decision there to call it a day. And I get that, to be fair. It's, if you've got nothing to strive towards other than just doing the thing, I mean, you can still do the thing, but you don't have to. And
this is the thing, so many people had no idea that I'd retired.
Because you still show up and you still do the thing.
Well, I I'm probably more consistent than a lot of people that I know.
I have no doubt in my mind that you very, very much are.
So it's it took a long time for me to admit it to other people, and essentially like nobody needs to know, but it took a long time for me to eventually say it, because it's quite an emotional thing for me, because I loved it so much, because I knew that people would ask why, and I also didn't want to then put it out into the open from a negative perspective about assistance, because then that makes me look like I'm trying to
Bash it a bit.
But it's like I'm the polar opposite. I would never take anything back about my process. I would never take anything of a different path about my process. And I want other individuals, females, to feel like they have a safe space within me, that if they do want to get coached by me, that I will take care of them if they choose to go down that path.
The best way.
In the best way possible, because that's what I did. And I also am a safe person to speak to. Like, I have so many people that reach out that aren't coached by me. I'm not that type of person that's in someone's inbox to chat about, shall we get into coaching, and, etc. But like individuals that get coached by others, not just in the UK, but far overseas, they message me with like their stacks and like ask my opinion. I'm happy to ask or answer anything or anything personal about me. I want to be an educator in that space, that, not from a scientific perspective.
No, but a positive influence for people that are wanting to explore the same avenue as yourself.
Yeah.
I think from an outside perspective, I can understand why you would fear making that statement straight off the bat, considering some of the abuse and hate you were getting, because it may appear that the thing that you're clearly trying to avoid, which is, not wanting it to come across as about the PEDs or bodybuilding and the impact and that kind of thing, but more so around progress and all the other things that we've spoken about. And then, you come online and you go, look, guys, don't want to do bodybuilding anymore. And all of a sudden people go, oh yeah, well, that's the drugs. And I can, and you even, and that is social media, and it is shit like that, because even when the truth of it, it's, and I think, and I do truly believe that as well. Like if I genuinely, by the way, if I didn't believe what you were saying, I would say that, and I'd challenge you on it. But like, based on everything that you've said up to now, with the progress and the diving and the dancing and the gymnastics and just everything, it screams this part of you that is needing to be fulfilled through progress and constant movement forward. And when you personally recognize that isn't a thing for you anymore, that you lose a bit of fire. You're like, there's a bit of light lost within what it is that you're doing. And so the decision to make to come away from bodybuilding is clear that is what it is, based on everything else that you've done up to that moment. However, when you've got that shit going on in the background and all the abuse and the hate and all the nasty shit that's being said, people are going to try and connect the dots, and people are going to try and turn it into something that it's not, regardless of how, whatever you say, because people love to do that, right?
Yeah, and I hope that I've shown that I'm very hard-faced. Honestly, right, I barely have my personal phone with me. I barely go on socials. I still get shit now. And I just think, well, it is what it is. It's my choice. Probably some of your comments are true, but I'd never be the type of person that I'd even have time of day to think about what someone else is doing or saying, etc. But let people talk. I mean, if they want to comment and build up my algorithm so more people follow me, and it helps with things with coaching and other stuff, then you keep doing you, boo.
It's one of those, isn't it? You'd never take criticism from someone you'd never ask advice for, or from even. And usually people who are doing better than you, who are more successful than you, they never shoot down.
No,
right?
They don't. No.
It's always people who are not doing very well for themselves, and they're, in fact, I don't think I've ever come across that not being the case, and I've experienced it myself. I think people generally spew hate when they're projecting.
It's a reflection.
It is a reflection, 100%. And I think, whilst some things they say there might be a level of accuracy, and that's kind of the point. Like, they're trying to hit a nerve, and I've had it before myself. I think that people say things, true things, or semi-accurate things and try and shame you for that as if it's something to be ashamed about. And ultimately, I've found the best way to combat that is just own it, you know. And I'm assuming you seem very comfortable with everything you've said today, and that is the thing, you know. If people want to mock you for or try and come at you or be nasty or spew hate at you for whatever it is, ultimately, and that applies to everyone, right? Is like ultimately own that shit. You know, you are that person. You have made those choices. And the more you fight it, the more you make yourself feel guilty for being that person or having made those decisions. Now you've stepped away from bodybuilding. Where do you feel like your passion lies?
I want to be the best coach, but do you know, I said this on my own, I don't do like a podcast, but just, you know, I do chats sometimes, long spieling chats on my YouTube. I said that I wanted to become the best coach in the world, female coach, should I say, sorry.
Why not the best coach?
Unfortunately, bodybuilding is still seen as very, you know, male and female. It's just different.
Do you have many male clients? Well, I know you have a few.
I do have a few, yeah. I have a few competitors and I have a few lifestyle. I get on so well with my guy clients. I actually had a conversation and he's very much like you. He's very much in touch with his emotional side. And he was like, I was a little nervous when I first started getting coached by you. I was like, okay, this is like 3 years ago. And this is only just now that he spoke about it because you're a woman. And, you know, how can you take me to achieving my goals? I mean, he was a big guy. We've gone through a big body transformation. He's had all of his skin taken off because it was like a huge body transformation. And he wouldn't want to get coached by anyone else. He doesn't want to compete, but like if he wanted to, like he'd actually be pretty decent. The tools that you have, it just depends. I think rather than it just being based on knowledge and, you know, the science, which is very important, you need to be very good at helping someone tick. If you can delve into helping someone tick, whether that be emotionally charged, aggressively charged, positive charged, negatively charged, you have to find what makes an individual tick. And that is how you will help them to become the best version.
Become a good coach and obviously improve the...
Yes.
I've got a bit of a thing. I've had a few conversations with people around exactly that. And I think good coaches have a good method and they are able to squeeze athletes and individuals into their box, into that method. Great coaches have a method and are capable of adapting that according to the individual to make it more individualized to them. Yeah. And I think sometimes that is I don't think it's missed. I just think it's poorly executed. I don't think anyone intentionally tries to squeeze people into a box. No. I just think that's what separates good coaches from great coaches is the great ones are capable of adapting and getting the best out of a client or an athlete by adapting what it is that they're doing in accordance with that individual's needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned something earlier, going back to what you were saying at the very start of the podcast around your drill sergeant instructor, what was it, the coach, and how he spoke to you, right? And that was fuel for you. And I think something that I've thought more deeply on over the last couple of weeks and even months, a couple of the conflicts that I've been involved in over the last few months with certain individuals over social media. I think for me at least, I always try and reflect on what's actually being said and the different points of views and the different messages. And my message is very much, I come from a place personally, and this is my bias, I come from a place personally whereby shame was very destructive towards who I am as an individual. And it poisoned my mind. You know, someone shames me, similar to how your coach kind of shamed you almost, but publicly. And that for me would quite literally have destroyed my character. Yep. And I would have become a shell of myself. I would go in on myself. I probably would have never dived again. And so my personal experience, as I see it, is that's not a tool to be used to try and drive a result, because it's not very nice. It comes across that way, at least. It's not very nice. And to me, and people that I know as well, because everybody's different, it can be very destructive and poisonous. Yeah. Equally, if that coach came to you and he was like, that was a really good job, but you definitely could have done better. These are the pointers, blah, blah, blah. Whilst that would have been great advice maybe, and it may have benefited you, maybe it wouldn't have put the fire behind the execution to get better the same way that the shame did.
I do agree. I think I needed it at the time of where I was in my life, because I was, a young girl that was probably going to progress into an adolescent that was going to have some type of attitude. It created for me to be the polar opposite of that when I was an adolescent. So I could stay focused, because many athletes, when they're younger, they have that moment where they lose their way when they're an adolescent, when they're first becoming a teenager. And then that's when they don't achieve success, because often people then fall off.
There's a bit of ego, isn't there? Even as a kid, you think you're shit hot. Especially like every teenager goes through it. I'm the best, I'm great, I'm invincible, I can... Yeah,
whereas I was the polar opposite of that.
And that was probably down to because
of what it was like. But he was also very clever in that he knew when to do that and when to be kind. So he was like my dad.
Okay, so he did... Okay, so there was a bit of the nurturing as well. Okay.
Yeah, like he's a very clever man, like really clever, like actually very clever. Lots of masters, PhDs, all sorts in different types of fields. Like he's so educated, and he knew at what point was going to make me tick. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not saying that from a coaching perspective, I necessarily, like a honey rambod who just wants to have Mr. Olympia, and then that's kind of, I guess that's what people perceive as like
the best.
A great coach. Yeah. I want to be able to help individuals become the best versions of themselves. So obviously we all know Kerry. I've coached Kerry for a very long time. As much as, I've helped her with things such as bodybuilding and progressing her physique with the training and, nutrition and things like that. Like I have helped her mindset be so different to what it was. Like she was willing to push hard in a prep, forever and a day. But like her ability to get after every day, no matter what's going on, and become a great coach and keep things ticking as everything's going, everything external bodybuilding, like the progress that we've seen in that is what's made her become a much better competitor. And it's the same with all my other athletes. It's allowing for them to become a person that is not affected by negativity, so that things inside and outside of the gym can continue to be successful.
How do you do that? How do you help someone build something like that?
Honesty is a big thing. So, if they've done something that you think is not so much helping them in that certain circumstance, can't say that. So, say that they're in a relationship dispute and they've said something specific and it's not potentially creating for the greatest of outcome, you'll have that conversation of, why did you say that? Because that's not what you mean. And you're just trying to create a response there. You're not trying to
solve a problem.
It's delving into that mindset of, maybe they don't like what I say sometimes, my athletes and my clients, but also on reflection, they realize that I'm just trying to create. It's the ability to think higher, rather than think about things and react.
Yeah,
it's about, let's achieve higher level of thinking, and that's communication. That's breaking down certain topics. I like to speak to my clients about everything to do with their life. It's not just they check in and that's it. And some coaches, that's fine. Like some people might see what I do as too much, but I want to delve into someone's mindset of how to help life progress as well as bodybuilding progress, because it all contributes together. We are exactly the same.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same, because I personally believe that bodybuilding can and should feed into life, and if life is good, life will feed back into bodybuilding. If you can, and again, that whole mindset thing is everything we do is downstream of how we think.
Absolutely.
What we think, how we digest, process, and then regurgitate information, it both to others and ourselves is the driving force behind everything we do.
Absolutely. And if you want to become a great athlete, you have to have that ability to have an athlete mindset. And that is an athlete mindset. The ability to be able to overcome challenges and not break anything to do with your vision in your path. And that might take longer than someone who's just coming in, smashing along the path. But most of my athletes that come to me, like, it's not just someone that's won a pro show or whatnot. They'll come from, the grassroots, like what I was. And that's what my coach helped me with, understanding my ability to break down a specific thing that was going wrong, how to make it better so that the path can still continue, so that no little obstacle then deviated
deviations
away from the path. I have another client, Claire, and she came to me when I was first started coaching, and she was wanting to be one of my lifestyle clients. And she'd gone through a lot of turmoil in her life with losing a mum and things like that. And I think that I became almost mum figure. But like, there's been situations where she was a lady who, it was okay to be sometimes a little bit down in the dumps and being affected by the feelings and the hardships of life, etc., which fair enough, because she'd gone through a lot. But that was never going to allow her to achieve her goals, not just in bodybuilding, but in life. So we had to think about, okay, how do we break down that specific issue, make it less of an issue to keep us driving forward so that we can still get up and do our steps, do our eating, keep everything positive. And she's gone through so much shit. And it's been so nice because I've took her from lifestyle, I think she was like 19 or 20, all the way to last year where she won her pro card.
Unreal.
And, she's got a mindset ready to kill and just a different person.
I think there's I do think there's like a huge misunderstanding around that kind of stuff when it comes to the amount of time and effort and attention to your own personal development. Like, what you've described that. What's the time frame?
That was 5 years, 4.5, 5 years.
And I think, again, being able to build a mindset like that over, just generally build a mindset like that, it does take so much time, right? Like, I look back at, again, using myself as a reference, I look back at where I was when I first, started training versus where I am now aspiring to be a pro bodybuilder. And it's like just two completely different human beings. Like, not even, you can't even compare them. And I think that's something that I love about bodybuilding, and equally I've really appreciated about being coached and having a coach is I mentioned this actually the other day on my Instagram. I'm not shy as to my opinions around coaching and the impact that it can have. I think it's life changing, and how I developed as soon as I first started getting coached, it increased my progress tenfold, not just my process and like the knowledge around what I do, but actually doing my ability to apply myself to do the thing. And that gap between knowing and doing is massive, right? And I think trying to build that mindset as a coach is very, very difficult. But again, I think that's what separates good coaches from great coaches. Being able
because
to...
people just have a skewed perception of what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean, you've got Mr. Olympia 5 times and whatnot. You've got nobody else on your team that's doing very well. You've got athletes that are just successful in lots of different avenues of life, whether that just be, being a great mother, being able to have a good routine so that they can keep their children going to school on time. They're able to be a savage and, do whatever it is that they need to do to overcome life issues.
Just help build someone up, basically, in whatever avenue it is. Meg, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming on the podcast. That's my last question.
Thank you.
You've done a fantastic job of answering them all in such great detail. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on, and I've really enjoyed this.
Me too. Thank you.
You're welcome.